Last time, we somehow managed to beat Final Fantasy XII without magic or shops, but now it's time for a more recent title. Welcome to RPG Challenge Runs, and today, well, get ready for the hardest challenge run yet. Can you beat Tales of Arise without arts? Arts are combat skills and healing abilities, as well as the super flashy mystic arts, which are basically ultimate limit breaks. All of those are banned. We're playing on Chaos difficulty, which is the hardest difficulty setting in the base game, and we're putting a strict ban on all forms of free and paid DLC. Sorry Kirito and Asuna, looks like you're sitting this one out. Finally, no glitches, hacks, mods, exploits, yada yada yada. Before we can begin, we have to load up an old save file and complete Dohalim's solo ultimate challenge to receive the Devil Sculpture Key item. This unlocks Chaos difficulty for our new game. Alright, let's do this. We step into the shoes of protagonist Alphen, currently known as Iron Mask, a slave on the planet Dana, working for the people of Rena. Since this is quite a new game, I want to keep things light on spoilers, so we're going to be skipping most story cutscenes and just focus on the gameplay. The overall goal of the game is to beat 5 lords, each in their own city, before flying off to finish a few endgame bosses. We start by browsing the unclaimed DLC list. Oh, look at all this great stuff we can't use. No, now come on now, we have to stay strong. We can do this. The first tutorial battle begins, and oh my god, our damage is pitiful. Is that guy's health bar even moving? Alphen's basic attacks work in combos of up to 4. After each 4 swings, he stands around AFK for about 3 seconds before he can begin another chain. We soon discover, however, that if you perform a dodge roll after the 4th strike, you can reset the combo much faster. This leads to much less downtime, increasing our overall DPS. We remove all arts from the hotbar so we don't accidentally trigger one, and when Shionne joins the party, we prevent her from using any of her arts when controlled by the AI. We enter the first non-tutorial fight of the game, a battle against these 3 wolves. We currently have Zephyr here as a guest, which helps with our damage output, but at one point we take a hit for massive damage. It looks like even enemies' basic attacks are hitting for more than half of our health bar. They're really not messing around on Chaos difficulty. After grabbing some ore, which will be useful for crafting accessories a bit later, we take a moment to appreciate how gorgeous this game's graphics are. I mean, I love the previous Tales games like Vesperia, Zestiria, Berseria, but you have to admit this game is on another level from a visual standpoint. The controls are also top notch and super responsive. Oh, let's grab this wheat for cooking later as well. We take a small plunge to grab our first permanent stat boosting herb, Sage. This one increases our max HP by 50. Nice! A lot more on these things later in the run. We suffer our first defeat in a battle against 3 armadillos. Armadillos? Armadilli? Whatever. We just have to be super careful of any mobs bigger than 2. We hit level 6, farm a few more bits, and then head on into Ulzebek to grab our first side quest. Without Zephyr helping us out, battles are much more difficult and are taking significantly longer. With our SP reward, we're granted access to the skill trees. There's not much here for us right now, especially since we don't want the arts, so we just grab critical damage for Alphen and increased near-death attack / elemental attack for Shionne. After all, we could really use a damage boost. We push onto the Iglia Wastes and unlock boost attacks. These are not arts. Instead, they're abilities specific to each character which have a long cooldown timer. Luckily for us, Alphen's boost attack staggers an enemy while dealing massive damage. Meanwhile, Shionne's boost attack is kinda meh. It knocks flying enemies out the sky and teleports her to your location, which can be useful. More importantly though, using an ally's boost attack seems to knock a couple of seconds off of Alphen's boost attack cooldown, so they're worth using as often as possible. Our protagonist then learns about basic vegetables.
What's this thing?
It's a potato, Alphen. We grab some more currency, mine some more ore, narrowly win a close fight against a weak mob, and learn how to cook. It seems this guy can eat through a metal mask that he cannot remove. His explanation?
Huh? Oh, it's nothing. You get used to it after a while.
Okay then. We keep farming in this area for a while. Dodge rolling at the last second before an enemy hits the player allows us to do a counter attack, but the timing window is quite narrow. Still, we're going to have to perfect this strategy if we want to have any chance of beating this run. We dodge, duck, dip, dive and dodge around enemies, grab more stat boosting herbs, collect Shionne's outfit. You know, the entire world's population are enslaved and we're on the brink of war, but priorities, am I right? Soon we meet the first obstacle of this challenge run, the Armoured Swordsman mini-boss. He's aggressive and often ignores the player to one-shot Shionne, who rarely makes any attempt to dodge his attacks. It takes quite a few tries, but we eventually learn his moveset and take him down. Damn, this run is feeling more like Dark Souls than a Tales game. We're now able to craft weapons. Nice! There's very little selection right now, but we're able to buy a sword upgrade for Alphen, and honestly, every little bit of extra damage really does help. Alright, it's time to push on to the First Lord's lair, Ganabelt Castle. Here we unlock the Blazing Sword, which is a big upgrade to Alphen's boost attack, although he does now sacrifice a bit of his own health each time he uses it. We can also now fill up enemies' blue diamond icon to initiate boost strikes for massive damage. Again, these are not arts, so they're fair game by the rules, and they're mandatory in most boss fights. After grabbing some crafting components from a chest, we get a better sword for Alphen and push on into the First Lord's boss fight. From the very start, it's clear that Balseph isn't messing around. His large, sweeping AoE attacks, large body, and 28,000 HP make it clear that this is going to be one hell of a fight. We're barely scratching his armour, and he soon Goomba stomps Alphen dead. It's obvious that Shionne won't be able to beat the fight solo, so her death is close behind. We try a second time and things go quite a bit smoother. We start to learn Balseph's attack patterns, when it's safe to go on the offensive and when we need to back the hell up. Alphen has only 1 HP left as we activate a boost strike and head on into phase 2. In the second phase, 2 extra opponents are introduced. One is a massive fire avatar and the other is a shockingly bad camera. Like, the camera always tilts upwards way too much, and it'll only rotate by a certain amount in one direction, but can be rotated infinitely in the other direction. You need to be constantly wrestling with the thing. Meanwhile, the fire avatar has the ability to deal massive arena-wide damage, but only has a small handful of moves that it uses just occasionally. On the first attempt, we both die to a fireball spam, and on the second attempt, Alphen gets obliterated by flying debris, while Shionne does her best impression of Ned Stark.
Fine. This can't be happening.
We try this fight on repeat for well over an hour, but it's just not happening. There's only one solution. We need to grind some more. We start by taking on the optional Toxidillo mini-boss in Ganabelt Castle, but we just get wrecked, so we stick to basic farming for a while. I'll be honest and say I was feeling a bit demotivated at this point, especially since regular mobs are giving as low as 15 XP, but as always the show must go on. Here's our setup going into the Balseph fight once more. We're level 11, have the best equipment possible at this point in the game, and we've pretty much got all the useful skill tree nodes available to us. Right, let's take down this bloody boss. Phase 1, and we try to play aggressively while keeping on top of the healing. We try to keep his attention on Alphen since Shionne's AI apparently doesn't know what dodging is. After only 5 minutes, phase 1 is complete and we still have 4 life bottles left. Those are the things that can revive dead teammates, by the way, but you can only carry a maximum of 15. On to phase 2, and we do manage to get him down to red health, but we get super greedy when he's charging up his Mystic Art ultimate ability. We're way too aggressive here and the fire avatar punishes us for it. Fair play, we deserve that one. From there, it's death, after death, after death, after death. Then we finally have this run. Things start strong, despite us being hit by rubble again. It's a tense and stressful fight that requires full concentration. I even had to stop listening to YouTube in the background for a bit. I won't say we played things perfectly here, but We try to balance our aggression levels and just keep an eye on that damn fire avatar. Balseph's mystic art is an absolute joke, because you can completely negate it by simply standing behind him or to the side. He repeatedly charges up his useless mystic arts, and after dodging more fireballs, we boost strike him out of there. Job done. That's 1 lord down and 4 to go. Wow, that was a crazy intense fight, and definitely one I won't be forgetting anytime soon. Let's see how Alphen felt about all that stress.
You look happy.
Onwards and upwards, we head through the Ulvan Grotto on our way to the second city. The poisonous enemies here are a decent challenge, but not too bad thanks to Zephyr's help. After some light platforming, it's onto the white-silver plains of Cyslodia, and damn, this place is gorgeous! Alphen learns what another vegetable is.
What's this thing?
We unlock accessory crafting, and after a few more fights, we unlock a new emblem for Alphen, which increases his boost gauge. Nice! The fight against Law is going well until it just randomly ends. Nevertheless, we're rewarded with a new team member, Rinwell. She's the mage of the team, so fires little elemental blasts as her basic attack, and her boost attack can nullify enemy magic while also, again, giving Alphen's boost gauge a boost. In battles against enemies who don't use magic, we'll just use her boost attack to charge Alphen's up. We unequip all of Rinwell's arts, enter a cow, and prepare for the next boss. Here's our setup going into the Ice Wolf leader fight. We give it a good shot, but he's way too strong for us right now. There's only one thing for it. We need to grind some more. Remember that Toxidillo mini-boss from earlier? Well, with Rinwell's help it poses very little threat, and we easily take it down. Hell yeah, that's one giant Zoogle in the bag. After noticing a blatant typo, yes, this game is somehow riddled with spelling errors, we buy some more skills and try that wolf again. We do suffer a couple of deaths before we have this run. We start by taking out the 3 smaller wolves so we don't get ganked by one when it's off screen. From there, it's all about responding to its moveset and constantly aiming for that orange weak spot. A couple more small wolves get introduced at the 50% HP mark, but that's nothing we can't handle. It soon falls to a boost strike with everyone still alive. Job done. That's 545 XP in the bag. Nice! We forge a new weapon for Alphen and push onto the outskirts of Cyslodia, capital of Cyslodia. Wait, Cyslodia is the capital of Cyslodia? Well, I can't see that getting confusing anytime soon, /S. Before heading in, we grab some loot from the King of Owl Forest. Yeah, best not to ask too many questions about what's going on here. After a bit of storyline, we find ourselves in the sewers. There's only 2 types of enemy here, and they're mostly okay. We just have to take regular trips back to the rest point. Sometimes though, well, they can be tough. We try to beat the boss so we can push on with the story, but we get absolutely obliterated. Like, it's not even close. To make matters worse, we're locked in here. We can't go back to explore or gather materials because of this metal door, and we can't go forward because of the impossible boss. Our only option is to live like sewer rats down here until we're strong enough to advance. We buy some better weapons and start grinding XP on the enemies around here. Things are tough and Alphen doesn't always make it through the fight. Hey, remember earlier when we noticed that spelling error? No big deal, right? Just a typo? Well, check out these amazing subtitles.
You're most comfortable at a range, aren't you? I'm not really built for close quarters combat. Nor am I. Don't worry, I'll help you keep a wide guard.
Like, it's like they hired one person to translate for the voice actors and a completely different person to translate the subtitles. What is this? How does this make it through QA testing? Oh, I'm just irritable because we've spent 8 hours in this sewer. We try the Ooze Hive boss again at level 18, but it doesn't go well. I can't stress how difficult it is to keep on top of the tiny blob enemies that spawn in, as well as the main boss itself. We come back a bit later, dead, and dead. Finally, we have this run. Things actually don't start out very well, but we get lucky as our AI teammates don't get wiped out as much as usual. The fight took quarter of an hour, but I'm really pleased with how it went, so I'll let some snippets of the fight play out here.
Say no more.
Say no more, indeed. Thank God we can finally leave the sewer. Things are going really well. And then we hit a roadblock. The Mystic Arts tutorial. You see, in this mandatory fight, all of the enemies are completely immune to damage until you use a Mystic Art. And in order to use a Mystic Art, you first need to perform a regular art. I spent almost an hour trying to get around the restrictions here, and the internet was not helpful at all, so we're forced to fail the challenge in order to continue any further into the game. With a heavy heart, we temporarily equip Sonic Blade, which the game ignores, and instead uses Demon Fang as a replacement. We then can use our mandatory Mystic Art, allowing us to continue the game. We unequip Sonic Blade immediately afterwards. I'll let you guys decide whether you think this means we've failed or not. Personally, I don't think it really is a fail. After all, it was a scripted tutorial that cannot be skipped, and we used the minimum number of arts possible to complete it. Maybe this is just copium, but I really want to see how far we can get in this game, and I'm sure most of you do too. The show must go on! Anywho, Law joins the party, and he's an excellent close-range brawler, whose boost attacks break through armour and deal quite good damage. Enemies in the Cyslodia Palace are super tanky, like this Red Knight who takes more than 5 minutes to take down. Wow! Here's our setup going into the second Lord boss fight. We're level 19, have almost the best gear possible, and our skill trees are looking pretty healthy. Let's do this! We are seconds into the fight and getting battered, stun-locked, paralysed, you name it. We just keep learning his moveset and try to play it safe. Hang on, what was this guy's name again?
Ganabelt!
Oh, right, yeah, thanks, Law. Ganabelt soon introduces 3 clones of himself and things start to get out of control. We simply cannot keep on top of the healing and reviving. He's only lost a quarter of his HP by the time we fall, making him the toughest boss we've faced so far. We farm enemies until Law gets his Armor Breaker emblem, granting him access to some tasty new buffs to his boost attack. We skillfully dodge some enemies and we're back for another attempt. The good news is that we somehow managed to get Ganabelt below half health. The bad news is that he and his 3 clones are together dealing massive damage, and there's just no safe spaces in the arena. Our teammates fall and we're not far behind. The grind continues. While farming enemies, we get Law to cook many meals for the party, unlocking his Growing Boy emblem and access to 5 new skills, 4 of which are passive skills that will be super helpful to us. We're back at level 20 with Shionne at 21. Our equipment is best in slot, with 3 of the 4 party members even being given resistance to light damage, which Ganabelt loves to dish out. We also have all boost attacks charged up and ready to go. We got this, come on! Back inside and things are looking really promising as we get him below 4000 HP, only for him to finish us off with his flashy Mystic Art. Another raid-wide AoE wipes us out. We just didn't have enough damage output, but we're so close. On our second attempt, things go much smoother. The clones offer a good challenge, but our AI party members are just staying alive a bit more than usual. As the fight drags on to its conclusion, Ganabelt begins to repeatedly charge up and spam his Mystic Art, just like Balseph did. In fact, you'll see this is going to be a recurring theme with the Lords in this game. After half an hour, we get him super low, and then...
End is imminent! Insignificant.
Oh, sod Hootle, the guy's on 300 health! Get him! Yes! Job done! Damn, that was satisfying. If you've ever played Overwatch and had an enemy Reinhardt earth shatter you, you know the feeling of laying there helpless hoping not to die. That was super intense, but we finally unlocked the ability to push onto the third city and or backtrack to the first area where we fought Balseph. The game just seriously opened up to us. Before we push on though, we have some side quests to mop up. We start by having a super close fight with Polycephus. I don't know. Doc teaches us how to cook a kebab, thanks Doc, and the SP just keeps flowing in. We even go back and defeat the boisterous roper giant Zoogle, but the onyx mail in the chest that it was guarding just isn't worth it to us anymore. We finally make it to the third region, Elde Menancia, and this place is even more gorgeous than the last. I remember playing the demo for this game which took place here and I was instantly in awe of the graphics. It's really incredible stuff. Anyway, we finally arrive at the battle arena. This place is going to be great for farming stat enhancing herbs a bit later in the game, as well as unlocking emblems for characters and all sorts of other great stuff. For example, after a quick solo battle with Alphen, we're awarded with a sage herb, then in another we grab a rosemary and some nice loot. There isn't much else on offer yet, but bookmark this place in your memory because we will be back. The next boss is Zacharania, a weird plant thing that's more like a puzzle than a challenge. Just defeat the outer tentacles to cause the central section to drop far enough to be in range. There was absolutely no difficulty in this boss. It was one of the few bosses in the entire run that we beat first try, so I'll save your time and we'll just keep going. Kisara is next, who is super tanky and defensive, but doesn't really do much. Her attacks are close range and mostly telegraphed well in advance, so we beat her first time. Again, without much challenge really. Thankfully, we only had to drop her down to 50% health before the story event triggered. I don't think we could have taken her down all the way. Time for our third Lord fight. We're level 23 going in, and here's a quick summary of our gear for anyone who's interested. Let's go. Dohalim is super quick and agile, but also boasts high damage and health. His only weakness is that he's a close range fighter, but he offsets this by being able to rapidly close in on his targets. As always, our first attempt goes badly and we're wiped before we can even get him to half health. We buy some better weapons before realising that, oh no, we're trapped in here. It's like the sewer all over again. We just grab a level or two and try again. We tried playing a bit more cautiously this time, but learning his moveset really does help in this fight. I'd say this fight is more like a Dark Souls boss than pretty much any other fight in the game. Even the environment kind of reminds me of Ash Lake. Kind of. Anyway, we get him super low and as always he starts spamming his mystic art. Shame he has one of the worst mystic arts in the game and it can be easily avoided. After about 20 minutes, he's down. Job done. That's 3 lords down and 2 to go. We narrowly take down the Great Dragon for a side quest and before long we're on to the next story boss, Venaflage. Let me explain why this was perhaps the most infuriating fight in the entire game. The AI party members are completely brain dead. This chameleon thingy is deadly from the front, especially with its tongue attack that deals massive damage, but it's very vulnerable from the sides, so just stay behind it and you'll live. Stand in front of it and you'll die. Simple, right? Well, the AI likes to stand in front of it. This means that party members are constantly dying and you pretty much have to solo the fight. One saving grace is that you can use an ally's boost attack to teleport them to your location, but this goes back on a long cooldown every time they die. It's a vicious cycle of death. Needless to say, we lost. On the second attempt though, we just accept that we'll need to carry the fight on our own and just try our best to respond to its moveset. After 21 minutes, it falls. That's not the last we've seen of that damn chameleon though, because it'll keep popping up as a regular enemy for the rest of the game. Better steer clear of those ones. After Kisara cooks a bunch of meals for the party, she too unlocks a new set of skills. Nice, nice. We then make the difficult decision of swapping tanky defensive Kisara in and letting squishy brawler Law take a back seat. We'll still have access to his super powerful boost attack, but won't need to deal with him dying all the time. Glass cannons typically don't work when fights are going on for several minutes at a minimum. After being blocked by an annoying invisible wall, we fight the mysterious swordsman. He's tough at first, but the trick is to kite him to the edges of the arena, away from the rest of the team. He soon slows down, and after a couple of minutes the fight ends for story reasons. We arrive in Niez, the 4th city, but we have a few things to wrap up before we can fight the 4th Lord. We get triggered by yet another typo, have a super close fight against a big piggy, defeat the Alpha Reaper and Flame Wrecker side quest bosses, grab an ice cream recipe from the bottom of a well, cook it with Rinwell to get the Sugar Connoisseur emblem, granting access to KO prevention once per battle, take down another one of those bloody chameleon things at 1 HP for weapon crafting material, catch some fish to flip for cash, and find out that Alphen doesn't know what money is.
What's this thing?
The next story boss, Tamararus, is really strong and we can't even get him below half health, so as always, it's time to grind some more. We complete more solo challenges in the arena to unlock additional skills, and after a fair bit of grinding we're back at level 31 with best in slot gear. I don't have much to say about this boss, he's super aggressive but also quite generic, so it was a close but uneventful fight. One good strategy was to keep him facing towards the outside of the circle, so he ends up shooting his fireballs into thin air. Job done. We dash for the next story boss, Rena, whose name I'm also probably not pronouncing correctly. He's really tanky and our damage output is so low that we're barely taking a quarter of his health off him by the time we get wiped. Ouch! We try again at level 32 with pretty much the best gear and skill trees possible. We exclusively target the tail, which can be frustrating when it goes out of bounds and therefore becomes untargetable. Once that gets chopped off though, unlike most other bosses, it does not come back, seriously reducing his damage opportunities. After 16 minutes, he falls in defeat. Nice. We take a boat to the 4th Lord's ship. Not much to say about the regular battles here, they're pretty mediocre in difficulty, and sadly the super tanky red knights occasionally appear, which are just boring bullet sponges. We craft some better weapons, and at level 33, here's our setup going into the 4th Lord boss fight. Let's do this! Almeidrea herself spends most of the fight flying high in the air, fully invincible, while we deal with her pet dragon Mesmald. We have quite a decent first attempt, but things suddenly take a bad turn and we get wiped. Second attempt, and this time we try to give the dragon a bit more space and keep aiming for that tail. Just like in the chameleon fight earlier, our AI teammates are kinda brain dead, so they just keep dying, meaning we have to solo most of the fight. We could swap Law and Dohalim in here, but they just quickly die as well. Personally, I think it's better to keep them in reserve so we still have access to their boost attacks. After 20 minutes the dragon is down to critical HP, and so Almeidrea starts spamming her mystic art. It's pretty easy to dodge if you keep rolling around the perimeter of the battlefield in an anti-clockwise direction, or counterclockwise for the American viewers, so we just wait it out and attack a little bit in between each cast. Another 10 minutes later and she falls in defeat. Nice! After some spoilery story stuff, we find ourselves washed up on some unfamiliar beach, separated from our teammates. We have to complete a super long battle against 2 heavily armoured crab thingies, but after that's over we reunite with most of the team. We're not allowed to teleport back to previous areas of the game yet, so mobs like these are pretty much the weakest enemies available to us right now. We also currently don't have Shionne in the party due to story reasons, which means no blazing sword, which means Alphen's boost attack just got nerfed harder than Brigitte. The next boss is this bird thingy, and well, it's just impossible. I mean, look at this, it's not even close. We have to go away and grind for hours before returning at level 35. By the way, I'm cutting out footage of endlessly farming enemies and just showing the highlights here, but honestly I'd say 80 to 90% of this challenge run was just grinding. kind of boring, so I'll leave it all out. What's great though is that this thing died super easily on the second attempt, with everyone still alive. Nice. We take another crazy leap of faith.
Hey! Are you insane? What the hell were you thinking? I thought we were gonna die!
And arrive at Pelegion, home of the 5th and final Lord. After a weird fight against infinitely respawning thorns, Shionne rejoins the party and brings some nice new equipment with her. Awesome! Next up is a boss fight against this duo. It starts as a fight against one of them, then the second one joins in. But after you kill one of them, they go all Ornstein and Smo on you by fusing into one big bad enemy at the end. First try and we are dead. As usual, not even close. Second try, close, but again, nope. After a fair bit of grinding, we have this 23-minute fight. Have you noticed that the boss fights are getting longer and longer? Sorry for cutting most of the footage out, but obviously we don't want this video to be going on for 10 plus hours. I'll post some of the full boss fights in the Patreon page if anyone wants to check that out. At half health, the green beast summons the blue one in, but we keep focusing on the green one since it's already at half health. After they fuse, we continue to play super aggressively until all allies are dead, then we swap to coward mode and just wait for the boost attacks to charge up. Eventually, it falls. Oh, damn, tough fight that one. I dread to think how hard this 5th Lord is going to be, especially since he has 2 phases, but we'll give it a shot. Here's our setup going in. Like Dohalim, Vholran is a super agile fighter who also has access to various water arts. We have to stay on our toes and time boost attacks almost perfectly if we want to survive this. Thankfully, after only 9 minutes, we finish Phase 1. Alphen died at the very end there, but this game revives us as a boost strike bonus. We start Phase 2 in a strong position as all 3 of our teammates are in green health. Vholran now has lots of new tricks up his sleeve, so it's important to stay agile and stagger him as often as possible. At half HP, he uses his Mystic Art, which summons a giant icy sword through the battlefield, causing massive arena-wide ice damage. Somehow tanky Kisara survives by a hair, giving us the opportunity to use our only Omega Elixir to fully revive everyone. Soon enough, it's a 1v1 and we're down to critical health. One wrong move could spell disaster here. When Vholran gets super low, he goes to cast another Mystic Art, summoning another one of those icy sword thingies. As soon as that sword connects with the arena, we are dead, and we will have lost around half an hour of progress. We go super aggressive, throw our last life bottle at Shionne in a panic, and somehow manage to get him to 1 HP and trigger the boost strike. Oh wow, that was bloody close. If we were 1 second slower, we would have failed that fight, hands down. My heart is racing after that one. We complete more side quests, listen to an angry owl, and notice that this blacksmith will say, "Here it is, it's all yours, even if you don't buy anything." QA testers! Eventually we load the bridge back to Cyslodia, and we now have regained the ability to teleport anywhere we've previously visited. Awesome! We've got a really long list of side quests to do now, with many of them giving awesome rewards, like new party member emblems for extra skills, new recipes, or just fun new boss fights, like this Mother Boomy, which was tough but really good fun. We unlock the ability to transfer skills onto new accessories, which will be really important to get some good endgame gear, and we just keep side questing for a few hours. Agony Keeper was probably the most fun optional boss here. All of that dodging and weaving gave Alphen a serious workout. We board the ship and advance to the Wedge. The boss here, Elde Menancia, is literally just a reskin of the Zacharania boss from a short while ago. Destroy the tentacles until the middle section lowers, then take it out. A cheeky bit of lazy game design there, I reckon. Still, we managed to take it out on the first try. Nice. We ride the momentum straight to Berg Volcano, grab some better armour and try fighting the next reskinned story boss, Efreet. This quote boss is actually just a series of souped up regular enemies. Efreet himself just sits back and enjoys the show. We can't even defeat the first wave though, and we just get obliterated. Time to grind some more. We forge an atonement edge weapon to unlock some extra skills for Alphen. Nice. After a very close call against the optional Ruthless boss, we try Efreet again, but it's just impossible to survive. I mean, look at this. How is anyone supposed to survive this? Back to farming enemies, the Wedge. Hey, remember that dialogue earlier where the voices didn't match up to the subtitles? Well, check this out.
You fight better at a distance. The further away, the better. You and I both.
Yeah, this time the audio of the exact same conversation has been changed, so the voices now do match the subtitles. God, this game is a mess, but I still absolutely love it to death. It was my favourite game of 2021. Here's our setup going into this Efreet fight one last time. Our accessories could be better, but other than that we're pretty much maxed out. We're also level 44, which is a fair bit higher than you're supposed to be at this point in the game. Our strategy in the fight is not to worry too much about our teammates during the first part. They just keep dying anyway, so we either solo it with Alphen or let critically low HP Kisara tank the damage, since she gains super boosted defenses when in red health. That will be crucial to our success later in the run. After 3 waves of enemies, Efreet punches down hard, dealing massive damage. 3 party members get wiped, and Alphen is down to 1 HP. We frantically resurrect Kisara and get her healed up, but thankfully a boost strike triggers and we end the fight. Job done. These boss fights are getting harder and harder. At this rate, I'm really not convinced we're going to be able to make it to the end of the game without dozens of hours of endless grinding. We use Efreet's secret key to grab some tasty loot back in Calaglia, as well as the Wiener recipe which massively boosts the party's attack power. We then grab the abandoned starship and fly off to Lenegis. We're now able to purchase heavy treats. They're super expensive at 8,000 gold each, but they almost fully heal the entire party. Definitely worth stocking up on these as much as possible. Remember though, the game limits you to 15 of each item. Fighting through the enemies here is pretty easy, so we soon arrive at the Tormented Limbs boss. He offers a slight challenge, and after we get him to red health, he wipes out the last of our allies. I really couldn't be bothered going back to farming, so after Alphen's best scream, we pop an Omega elixir, resurrecting everybody and quickly finishing the fight. After some spoilery story events, we're kitted out with an awesome new look. It doesn't help us with the next boss fight against the Red Woman though, because we fall flat before she's even at half health. You know the drill by now, let's go do some side content and come back later. We gather more owls, unlocking extra skills for Rinwell, whereas late night chats with Dohalim unlock skills for both him and Alphen. I love how the game rewards you for opting into extra content like this. It's a really cool feature. Anyway, the mantis from the start of the game can now be felled pretty easily, and we can finally beat the defensive herbs fight at the battlegrounds. This can only be completed once every hour, but it rewards 3 permanent stat boosting items and can be repeated infinitely. This gives us new hope, because if all else fails, we'll be able to sweat out the battlegrounds until our stats can just carry us through the rest of the game. What could possibly go wrong? Well, I did say I want to get a challenge run video out every month, and we're fast approaching the deadline here. We don't have endless hours waiting for that timer to reset. We're already about 60 hours in, and that's on top of needing to transfer the bloody video clips to the computer, convert the file format so DaVinci Resolve doesn't kick off, write and record this script, put it all together, create the YouTube thumbnail, make sure I've said massive damage and job done at least a dozen times, then upload it and hope I haven't made an idiot of myself along the way. Oh, sorry, just having a little panic to myself there. At level 48, the Red Woman boss goes down pretty easily. Job done. After some big interstellar story stuffs, we land in the game's final area, Rena. Before we can save the world though, we need to get our priorities sorted out. Important stuff needs to happen first, you know, like attending a wedding, going fishing, you know, important stuff, I promise. After some tough mobs, we arrive at the penultimate boss of the game, sod it, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. The strategy is to use Alphen's boost attack to stagger it down, then attack the super vulnerable head while it's reeling. Late in the fight, it does a lot of AoE damage when it glows blue and cannot be staggered. Our big brain teammates obviously just stand there and die, while we back off and wait patiently. Rinse and repeat until the thing is dead. First try. Nice. Oh, I mean, job done. Sorry, just had to say that one last time. We've now arrived at the warp point to the final boss, so let's clean up. After wiping out the Sword Dancer optional boss and encountering a weird boost attack gauge glitch, we use the last of our stat boosting herbs and hand in a few final side quests. Here's our setup going into the Great Astral Spirit final boss fight. We still haven't claimed any of the DLC items, and we're still on Chaos difficulty. We're level 60 with defense boosting food, and each party member's skill trees are maxed out. We're just missing a few rings. Alphen's missing emblem would require defeating some super difficult optional bosses, which really isn't a good use of our time or resources. Shionne's missing emblem requires her to use bomb arts, which are of course banned in this run and therefore impossible for her to obtain. Rinwell is full, Kisara is also missing an art related emblem, and Law's missing 2. One is art related and the other is from a side quest that would just be a pain to finish. Dohalim is missing 1 art related ring as well. In terms of equipment, we have the best weapon and armour available for each party member at this stage in the game. Everyone also has a tier 5 accessory equipped, which primarily focus on attack damage, penetration for knockdown and criticals, and boost gauge recharge rate. These accessories could probably be optimised further by mining a boatload more ore if needed, but let's see what happens first. Cross your fingers everyone, let's do this. The fight starts reasonably well. We just have to keep behind the boss and watch out for its area of effect damage. It's important to keep an eye on allies' health and respond to their healing needs with the appropriate items, because we can't afford to burn through 15 life bottles too quickly. It's worth remembering that this health bar only represents the first phase of the final boss fight. There will be plenty more to come if we can get past this. After passing half health, it begins spawning in these annoying elemental balls, giving us frightening flashbacks of that sewer boss from earlier. Luckily, despite their high damage, they go down reasonably quickly, allowing us to get back to focusing on the boss. The tension ramps up as we get it down to critical HP, but after 15 minutes we land the boost strike and push on to phase 2. This part is similar to the Efreet fight from earlier. Essentially, it's just waves of enemies being thrown at us while we fly through space on top of this rock. Yeah, don't question the physics at play here. Most of the enemies are fine, but these 2 chunky red boys are absolute tanks and deal massive damage with their club, hammer things, whatever they are. Kisara's critical HP tankiness comes in handy again though, and after using a boatload of items, we Phoenix Cyclone our way to the 3rd phase of the fight. Against the Subsumer in phase 3, things do not go well. There are spiky thorns protecting the boss, various dark magic rays shooting at us from above, and the boss can even summon arena-wide black holes with its mystic art, which deal continuous, repeated, massive damage. Throw in more of those elemental ball things and it's just a complete joke. But finally, we have this run. We start by getting everyone healed up from the previous phase and target its left arm. We quickly learn that when it fires dark rays into the floor with both fists forward, that is when it's going to use the dark magic tracking ray thingy, so evasion is essential. After we get a quarter of its health off, we trigger the first boost strike.
You win! From here on out!
Ooh, alternate voice lines, that's pretty cool. Onto the other fist. Its right side is slightly more difficult because it likes to keep this arm raised, meaning we have to jump to attack it in midair quite a lot. and boost attacks are more difficult to land. It also launches its first Black Hole Mystic Art, but with enough rolling we can trigger counter attacks on the damage ticks and use the temporary invincibility from boost attacks to protect us for a few seconds until the ability ends. 6.5 minutes into the fight and we launch our second boost strike.
No more dithering. Our future begins here.
Only one weak point left, but don't be fooled, things just got seriously tough. These thorns are protecting the boss and constantly growing back if destroyed, though Kisara's boost attack seems to do really well against them, destroying multiple thorns and dealing about 7,000 damage to the boss. We need to try to keep her alive at all costs. Black holes wipe out the rest of the party and we're running dangerously low on items. At critical HP the elemental orbs return and, well, I'll let things play out. That's right, with one final boost strike the Subsumer falls and we claim victory. Why didn't we just use the 2 Omega elixirs to revive the full party to max HP, I hear you asking? Well, partly because I forgot, and partly because there's one last phase to this insane boss rush. That's right, our friend the 5th Lord Vholran is back for more, and it's a forced 1v1 against Alphen. We have to time our rolls and boost attacks perfectly, as well as carefully managing our items and learning and responding to his diverse moveset. To crank up the difficulty even further, after he gets below 50% HP, the game does not let you open the menu anymore, meaning all items are completely off the table. It's either he dies or we die, right now. Vholran goes for his Mystic Art, Finis Aeternum. We all remember that giant ice sword from earlier, right? Well, it's back. Luckily, our rolls and boost attacks invincibility frames grant us immunity from most of the damage. After deliberately throwing ourselves into a shock ball to trigger a counter edge, we deal enough damage for the story to trigger a blazing pillar, completing the run. Can you beat Tales of Arise without arts on Chaos difficulty? Well, technically no, because of that tutorial back in Cyslodia, but also hell yeah! The run took about 71 hours and that was really good fun. Shame I'll probably have a repetitive strain injury from spamming that basic attack button 500,000 times. Here's our arts list upon completion. All zeros for how many times we've used each skill, the exception being Alphen obviously. 1 Demon Fang used and 1 Mystic Art used, both from that damn tutorial. Well, thanks for your time watching this video, guys, I really appreciate it. Now, if you'll excuse me, there's something I need to do.
Right, here goes! How about this? Raining slash, now!
Oh, damn, that feels good. Alright, normally we finish these videos with outtakes or bloopers of times that I couldn't read a script properly, but this time I'd just like to say, wow. Last time I uploaded the video, I think that was going out to like 10 subscribers or something, but we're now well over 1,000 people watching the channel. Ah! That's a massive number of people. YouTube has just been spamming me with emails over the last few weeks. Ex-Ninja-Gamer54 has subscribed to your channel. Epic Doglover 98 has subscribed to your channel. Like, have you ever had to deliver a presentation for school or university or something, and it feels really simple when you're just practicing it at home with a few people, but when you're finally up there in front of everyone and it's like, ah! Yeah, definitely getting that feeling now. Well, that's all from the residents of Dana for today. See you next time, guys. Cheers. The next story boss, to protect us for a few seconds until the ability...
Senpai, you should like and subscribe!